Keep your feet on your side of the table.
I don't have a side of the table.
Yeah, you do. It's over there.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of our Controlled-ish Chaos podcast. I'm Kyle and with me always is Kayla.
Hi.
And it's been a wild one this week, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. I mean, I know most of our weeks are pretty crazy, but this one's been a little extra. You want to tell me about some of your harder or easier or more interesting experiences this week?
Yeah, I guess I can go first this week. You want to go with the easy, interesting, or do you want to go with the harder one?
Let's do the harder one first. Get it out of the way.
So, my harder parenting moment this week would probably be Sunday morning breakfast when we went and got in the car. And I get in the car and I realize that Reyne still has her rain boots in the car that she was told the week before that she needed to take out of the car. One of the big reasons that she wasn't supposed to leave them in the car was because she stepped in dog shit.
I think that's the big reason. I mean, besides the fact that they're constantly being told to get their shit out of my car, now they've left dog shit shoes in my car, so.
For a week.
Yes.
When they were supposed to take care of them.
Not they, Reyne. Let's just be clear. We can't lump Marni into this one.
Marni's in the same boat, though. The whole back seat was
Yes.
full of all their shit. Playing cards all over the floor, just complete and utter disaster in the back. But the tipping point was the dog shit shoes.
Yeah, I mean, believe me, this is not falling on deaf ears.
But the hardest part for me for that was to keep my cool and not just start ripping her head off for it. Just kind of like, why are they still in here? She's like, well, I don't know. I'm like, get them out of here.
You kind of got to count to 10 and go, all right, don't eat the child.
Right. It's like, well, then get them out of here because you were supposed to do that a week ago.
And it's not like we weren't in the car all week. Literally all week. Like almost every day. We were in the car for something. Going somewhere, picking something up. I mean, with our impending travel, we have been going nonstop. So there's no way she can say she didn't see them. For God's sake, she had to step over them.
Right. So then I'm like, get them out of here. So she goes and she grabs one. She goes, I can't find the other one. I'm like, what do you mean you can't find the other one?
My car is big, but it ain't that big.
Like, you got one. Where's the other one? Well, I don't know.
Now, mind you, these are rain boots, like full-size rain boots, and they fit me, so they're big enough for an adult. You're not going to tell me you lost that.
Like, it's in the car. Did you take any of them out? She's like, no. I'm like, well, then it's here. Find it. So she's like, yeah, I don't know where it is. And she takes the one and starts walking inside. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
You're going to look until you figure out where it went.
So I got out of the car and walk around to the other side. And it's right there by Marni's feet in the third row. Marni's not saying anything about it. She's just watching everything happen.
In typical Marni fashion. I mean, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
So I grab her rain boot. And at this point, I'm fuming. And like I said, I'm trying not to rip the kid's head off. So I pull it out of the car, and I just chuck it over the top of the car out in the yard. And she's like, what was that? I said, I found your rain boot. Now you can go get it and take it inside with the other one. Like,
well, now that we've got that stress out of the way and your blood pressure's up a little bit, why don't you tell me your easier moment?
My easier moment this week was also with Reyne. So
she's a versatile kid.
Tipping scale, law of averages. It averages all out.
Yeah.
So the kid gets up like 4 o'clock in the morning and pokes me. I'm dead asleep. She pokes me right in the side. And I wake up and I'm just like, something woke me up, I think. Like, I don't think I just woke up on my own. Like, something woke me up. And then she pokes me again. I'm like, what in the world? I said, Reyne? She goes, hi. What are you doing? She goes, I had a nightmare.
Well, I'm having one now.
I'm like, okay. Well, okay. I said, I'll move over. You can move the body pillow and climb in. And so she climbs in bed, and I take the body pillow, and I put it across the top of the bed so that we can both use it as a pillow.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved my actual pillow so I didn't have like two of them under my head. And she lays on top of me. And I'm like, are you just not using a pillow? And she goes, no. I'm like, all right, well, I want my regular pillow back then because this is uncomfy as shit.
Now, mind you, I'm dead asleep through this entire encounter, have no idea what's going on at all.
So I'm like, all right, what was your nightmare about? And she said, well, I had a dream that you and Ira and Karina were all in the garage and it caught fire and it burnt down and you guys were stuck inside.
Well, that sounds like a pretty shitty dream to me.
I'm like, well, at least for now we don't have to worry about that, right? I said, let's just go to bed.
Very comforting, Dad. Good job.
By the way, I said, you know it's 4 o'clock in the morning, right? And she goes, yeah.
I do now.
I said, all right, well, when Mom's alarm starts going off at 5:30, I said, you got to get up and go back to your own bed. Says, okay. So I poked you to let you know that there was a kid in our bed.
No idea. No recollection.
Oh, trust me, I know. I poked you and you're like, what? I said, there's a kid in our bed. And you're like, all right, whatever. And you rolled over and snuggled on me. So then both of my arms end up falling asleep because I got one of you on one and one of you on the other. I'm like, all right, this is cool.
Well, you don't need them. You're sleeping. It's fine.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I don't need them till I wake up. I'm just flopping around trying to roll over, shutting off alarms. What was your harder parenting moment this week?
That would be your blonde child decided that...
Which one?
We only have one blonde.
We have two blondes.
No, we don't.
Karina's blonde.
She is not blonde.
She's dirty blonde.
No, she's not.
She's just dirty.
Yeah, she's dirty. She's not blonde.
Nah, I don't know. It's debatable.
She's like not.
She's a dirty blonde. When the sun comes out, she'll be blonde.
I don't think so.
I think so.
Anywho, the actual blonde child
that would be Marni or Karina?
The week prior to Worlds, she needed to get an abscess on her gums.
Well, that's not good.
So, yeah. She says to me, hey, Mom, there's this lump on my gum, and it kind of hurts. And I'm like, okay. Like, not thinking much of it. She pulls her lip up, and there's this massive ball of gross. And I'm like, oh, wonderful. So, I'm like, well, dentist, pediatrics, urgent care. Figure it out. Which one's going to get me in the fastest, cost me the least, and give me antibiotics? I ended up going with pediatrics because the dentist was like, yeah, we can't see her for a couple weeks. And I'm like, well, I don't have a couple weeks to wait because I'm not taking this kid for a Worlds competition with an abscess in her mouth and no idea how bad it's going to get. Because in my experience, those go from 0 to 100 real fucking quick.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do ninja in pain.
Yeah, and tooth pain is the worst. Let me tell you, I can honestly say I've had tooth pain that is worse than the pain I remember from childbirth. So, no thank you. I was definitely in a hurry to get that squared away.
Yeah, that really sucks. Like, especially because it's not like she doesn't brush her teeth every night.
Oh, she absolutely does.
Oh, I know. Because whenever I think that she didn't brush them long enough, I always send her back in to do it again.
Yep.
They all do. It's like their favorite thing.
Especially Ira. She'll run around the house screaming, paste, 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 with a tube of toothpaste in her hand, screaming at you to put toothpaste on her toothbrush because as much as she likes to brush her teeth, she hasn't figured out how to operate the toothpaste yet, which is probably a good thing because I think she would just eat it.
She does eat it. Her and Karina both.
Yeah, well, that's why I buy the natural shit.
But no, like, Reyne goes in and brushes her teeth, and Marni goes in and brushes her teeth, and Karina goes in and...
plays in the sink.
brushes 2 teeth and her tongue.
And then she rinses her inside mouth.
And then I usually end up trying to help her to get the rest of her teeth. And Ira will start brushing all her fronts while she smiles and brushes her teeth, and then she'll hand me it so that I can get all her back teeth also.
Can you please tell the people about Karina and her inside mouth?
Oh my gosh. So every night when we brush our teeth, she'll cough. She'll go, Dad, you're choking me. I said, I'm not choking you. Just stop. I said, you little faker. I said, I didn't even hit the back of your throat or nothing. So I sit there and I get all of her teeth brushed, and she'll spit. And then she goes, Dad, I need to rinse my inside mouth. And by that, she means, you need to hold me upside down so I can stick my face in the water and let the water run into my mouth.
Yeah, the first time I got called into the bathroom to watch that fiasco, I was like, why is there a kid on the counter? And he's like, just watch.
That's okay. I've got it now so that when Ira tries to rinse her mouth, I cut my hand and scoop the water up from under the
Oh,
faucet and
gross.
hold it to her face, and she'll suck it up out of my
That's
hand.
disgusting. This might seem okay for some people, but the fact that I know what you get into at work and come home with on your hands and the color of your hands
Listen,
tells
it
me this
doesn't
is
come
gross.
off my hands. It's
Yeah, that.
stuck there.
Ugh,
It's
no.
You can't even taste it.
You can't even taste it.
Do you know how much food I've eaten and how many times I've licked my fingers? You don't taste it. It's fine. And if she does taste it, it's because she swallows the water and then spits air out after, which is why neither of those kids get mouthwash. I gave Marnie some of your mouthwash the other night.
Yeah, I bet that was fun for her. Not.
Well, she called it my mouthwash too, which was funny, but
Well,
she
usually I give them like either kid stuff or the natural mint stuff, which
right,
is
no,
very weak.
I gave him like the Listerine,
Yeah,
like
I use
full on.
Listerine for myself.
Right, so I gave her that and she's sitting there swishing with it and it's fine. And then she gives me this look like, am I done yet? And I'm like, hold on. So I count to 10 and I'm like, 1, 2, 3, and all of a sudden she's like,
Yeah, I was gonna
I'm
say
like,
it's a delayed reaction.
I'm like, okay, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, and I point at the sink and she spits out and she goes, ha, ha, that's hot. Why is your mouthwash hot?
Now I'm just laughing because you pointed at the sink instead of telling her she could spit, as if you were the one with a mouthful of mouthwash.
Well, I wanted to make sure she realized I was done counting at 10 because she might have thought I was going to 30. So she's like, it's so hot. And she's like, I need water, water, water. And I'm like, there's a sink right there.
You just spit in it. Turn it on.
So I'm like, here. And I turn it on. She's like, no, I need water. I'm like, rinse it first. And I showed her the hand trick with the scoop.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's gross. I'll do it myself.
Exactly. That's gross.
So she does a quick rinse and spits. And then she's like, can I just go get like a drink of water? I'm like, yeah, but it's not going to taste right. So she goes in the kitchen and takes a big drink of water. And she's like, you're right. That was gross. But I mean, I guess at least it was something. It's not so hot now.
Yeah, I desire that hot feeling. That's why Listerine is the only mouthwash I will use.
Karina keeps telling me that she's got wiggly teeth.
Well, when all of your sisters and favorite cartoon characters are losing teeth left and right, you know.
Yeah, did she tell you though that she's got a wiggly tooth and she needs to put it under her pillow so the tooth fairy can turn it to coins?
No, she told me that the tooth itself was going to turn into a coin, so we're getting mixed signals here.
Yeah, but I think part of where that's coming from is both Reyne and Marni lost their teeth this week.
Yeah, and so did the dog. Like, I'm tired of seeing empty tooth holes in people's and dogs' mouths. Like, I'm done with this. We can stop losing teeth for a few days, guys.
The key to remember is the tooth fairy only pays you for your own teeth.
I'm not super worried about it with the dog and the kids trying to use dog teeth because he seems to eat them because he's lost all of his puppy teeth and I have yet to find a single one.
When I was a kid living out in the country, I found like a dead animal skull on the side of the road.
Yeah.
I brought it home and went and sat under the porch in the shade, and I grabbed a pair of pliers and I started ripping the teeth out, and they were coming out easily.
Well, yeah.
So I was like, all right. So I went inside and I was like, Mom, can I have a Ziploc bag? And she's like, sure, what for? I'm like, for my teeth. And she's like, what are you talking about? So I
Instant mom fear right there for my teeth.
I went back down and grabbed all the teeth that I had already pulled and put them in the bag and brought them up and said, look, I found all these teeth and I'm going to put them under my pillow for the tooth fairy, make all kinds of money. And that's when she sat me down. She's like, you know, the tooth fairy only pays you for your teeth, right? And I was like, are you sure? And she's like, yep. I'm like, well, can I put them under my pillow anyway? She says, nope.
No, you're not putting dead thing teeth under your pillow. Thank you very much. That seems like it's an invitation for trouble.
So yeah, the key to remember is the tooth fairy only pays you for your own teeth, not everybody else's.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense to me.
Right. Now that we've got that out of the way, what was one of your easier, more interesting parenting moments this week?
That didn't have to do with anybody's teeth. That would be Reyne,
The star of the show
the
this
star of
week?
the show. Yeah, this is the Reyne episode. Uh, so the other day I was looking for my tweezers in the bathroom in my makeup cup where they live.
Okay.
They were not there. So from time to time, I will use my tweezers in the living room for picking chunks of fingernail off or what have you.
That's odd.
Yeah, well, I have acrylic nails and sometimes it's called for. Anyway, I just figured maybe I left them on the table and they got knocked onto the floor or whatever. Didn't think much of it, carried on about my day, figured I'd sort it out later. Well, later came along and Rain jumps out of the car and my tweezers hit the ground. And I'm like, why do you have my tweezers? I don't know. Strike one. That's always her immediate answer. I don't know. I think she uses it as like a placeholder until she can come up with an excuse.
I'd rather her just say,
I don't know about that. Anyway, though, so I ask her again because I'm like, you obviously know. Like, they've been missing. I know that you know why you have
Right,
them.
that's your sweatshirt. They came out of your sweatshirt.
Yeah.
You put them in your sweatshirt.
Exactly. So I ask her a second time. I'm like, why do you have my tweezers? And she's like, yeah, I don't know. And I'm like, well,
Strike two.
right. Let's try this one last time. And I told her that. I said, I'm going to ask you one more time. And you're not going to lie to me this time. You're going to tell me the truth or you're going to be in much more trouble than if you lie. And she's like, well, I was trying to tweeze my arm hair. And I'm like, listen, I understand wanting to remove your arm hair, but I can tell you for sure that there are much better methods than tweezing it.
I feel like this isn't the first time either.
I don't know if this is the first time with the arm hair, but it's definitely not the first time with the leg hair. This kid had a whole complex about leg hair last year.
Yeah, I remember that. And it was like, Rain, you're 8 years old. I understand. I said, but
She has got very dark, very thick hair. So I
you
completely...
make her sound like an ape. She doesn't even look like an ape.
No, she looks like an Italian if we're being honest. She's got that very thick, coarse, dark hair. Anyways, I understand where she's coming from because when I was her age, I had the same problem where I was like, man, everybody else has this little blonde baby hair on their legs, and I'm over here with this whole man leg hair going on.
I guess that's why Karina likes to sleep with Rain instead of Marni.
She keeps her warm.
Rain feels like a teddy bear. No, not really. That was mean.
But yeah, so it wasn't very difficult to figure out what had happened there. It was just mildly annoying, but also entertaining. So yeah, that was my interesting moment for the week.
Yeah.
A little comedic relief there. Can you please explain to me and also our listeners what Taxi is?
It's a card game.
Yeah, no. Never played that.
We can play if you'd like.
I have a feeling I wouldn't, considering the maniacal laughter that occurred when you asked our children if they wanted to play.
Yeah, so the girls got all their cards picked up, and they were sitting there and they're like, "Can you teach me how to shuffle?" I'm like, probably not at the moment. But I start shuffling the cards.
They don't necessarily have the hand-eye coordination for shuffling anyway.
That and their hands are small.
Well, yeah.
But I was like, but if you want, we can play a fun game. And Rain's like, what? I said, we can play Taxi. And she goes, no, that doesn't sound like something I'd want to play.
See, Rain knows.
I said, do you know what it is? She goes, no, but it doesn't sound good. And Marnie's
yeah,
like,
because it came from you.
Marnie's like, what is it? I'm like, do you want to play? And she goes, okay. How do we play? I said, so you see these cards? She goes, yeah. I said, I want you to pretend each one is a person. And you're going to be the taxi. and I took the cards and I folded them and shot them all over the place at her. And she's like, "What'd you do that for?" I said, "How are you going to pick the people up if they're not waiting for you?" And she just looked at me dumbfounded like, "Are you serious right now?" I'm like, "Pick them up, taxi."
Oh my God.
Yeah, she wasn't real thrilled about
See,
that one.
Reyne knew better. Reyne's
Reyne
gotten
did
smart about your bullshit.
Right, Reyne did know better. So Marni gets them all picked up. I said, "So Reyne, you didn't want to play taxi, but do you want to play 52 pickup?" She goes, "No."
No. I would just like for you to know that when they brought those stupid cards in from the backseat of my car, which they had in the car because they had been grounded from their tablets indefinitely for just repeated stupid shit, they had been playing cards in the backseat on the way to and from Ninja because it's a long drive. They brought them inside, and they were like, "Hey, we want to play cards. Do you want to play with us?" And we were like, "Yeah, no, I don't think you have all the cards here." Come to find out, they were missing like 10 or 11 cards. So I ended up sorting them into suits to tell them which ones they were missing.
They were missing 16.
Yeah. And
They had 36. They were missing 16.
And they couldn't understand that. They couldn't wrap their heads around that, which is why I broke it down into suits.
Well, they got the cards, and I'm like, "You don't have a full deck." I'm like, "You might as well toss them out, and we'll just get you a new deck." And Reyne's like, No, I'll find them." I'm like, "Well, how many do you have?" So she counts them. She goes, "I got 36. I'm like, "All right." She goes, "How many am I missing?" I'm like, 16. She's 16? I said, "Yeah, 16. Oh. And then you popped in and you're like, "What's going on?" I said, "They're missing 16 cards." And you're like, "They're probably in my car."
I knew they were in my car because they had a full brand new deck when they got in the car. We're still missing 2 cards in the car somewhere.
Right, and I almost feel bad because Reyne came in with all the other cards that she had, and she's like, "I found more cards." She goes, "What are these ones?" And she holds up 2 Joker cards.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Those are the Joker cards. They're cards, but they're not like real cards."
Right, they don't matter.
And she's like, "Okay, can I throw them out then?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, might as well."
Right.
Well, if they had kept them, they could have used them as their 2 missing ones. But I didn't.
I feel like their 2 missing ones are still somewhere in my car. I don't know where else they would be. I just need to go out there and look for them. They're having a hard time, I'm sure, finding them because the entire inside of my car is black and the windows are tinted, so there's no light in the car. It's very dark and the cards are black. So I would be able to find it either if I was them. So I'm going to go with my flashlight and find them.
That's a good idea. So, did you realize on Sunday that me and Reyne ate 2 whole boxes of mac and cheese by ourselves?
Yes, I was disgusted and also astonished, as usual, by the 2 of you and your eating habits when I realized this.
Well, I wanted something for lunch, but I didn't want to have to spend too much time cooking anything or put any real effort in. So I was like, "Oh, look at that. Macaroni and cheese. I'll make a box of that." And I'm like, "Well, I can probably eat pretty much this box by myself, and I'm sure Reyne's going to want some."
And I don't want to share.
So I went ahead and made 2 boxes, and it gets all done, and I'm like, "Reyne, do you want some mac and cheese?" And she was like, "Sure, I was looking for lunch anyway." I'm like, "Yeah, you can have some, grab a bowl." So I grab a bowl for me, she grabs a bowl for her, and I emptied the entire pan out into the 2 bowls. I had more in my bowl than she had in hers because I'm a bigger person than she is. So I went ahead and ate. I was probably 90% done with my bowl. I had like that 5 to 6 bite range left.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, I'm full. I shouldn't eat anymore.
Which is hilarious to me because it was not half an hour later and you were scrounging in the kitchen again.
Scrounging from the couch in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Mentally scrounging the kitchen.
My stomach told me I was hungry, but my brain knew I wasn't.
Your stomach just hadn't registered how much garbage you had put into it yet.
Right, but I'm sitting there, I'm like, I got like 6 bites left. I'm like, I know I can finish it. It's not a matter of can I, it's should I. And I just sat there, kept arguing with myself, and finished it all because I'm like, I don't want to be the one of the 2 of us that doesn't finish eating the mac and cheese. So then
your competitive nature is ridiculous.
Well, if I didn't finish and Reyne finished, we couldn't say we ate the whole 2 boxes.
I can't deal with you.
So I had to make sure I ate my share.
I can't deal with you. I cannot with you.
I mean, what would you have done?
First of all, I can't eat that much of any one food. Like, I can't just sit down with a giant bowl of one food and eat that whole bowl. I need a lot of different textures and consistencies in my food. Like, when I make a salad, it's salad, there's meat, there's tomatoes, there's cucumbers, there's bacon, there's cheese, there's bacon bits.
But you sit down and you eat the whole salad, right?
Right, but there's 17 different textures in there.
So let's say that you take an entire bag of salad and you split it between you and Reyne and you fancy it all up and put your dressing on it, and then you sit there and you eat your salad. Reyne finishes her bowl and yours is in front of you. You are almost done. But you're like, I don't know if I should. Do you finish it and
let me just stop you there
and take the trophy of everybody cheering because you guys ate your entire bag of salad together? Or do you tap out and say, yep, I'm a failure, I couldn't do it?
I will take being a failure over making myself sick any day of the week.
But I didn't get sick.
See, but I would have. Like, if I get to that point where I'm like, well, should I eat it? The answer is no. Because if I eat it, then later I'm going to regret it. I'm going to be miserable. I'm going to feel like garbage. And I will get anxious about it. And it's just not worth it for me. For me, I will take the loss and not eat the whole bag of salad. Because, to be honest with you, salad fills me up pretty quickly anyway. You give me that weird look, but all of the extra shit that I just mentioned putting into the salad, plus the dressing, it's pretty filling for me.
It should make you feel better.
What?
Eating salad should make you feel better. Dogs eat grass every time they feel sick to their stomachs to make themselves feel better.
No. Nope. Different. Not the same.
Which kid was it? Was it Reyne or Marni? They asked me if salad was basically grass.
Yeah, I think it was Marni. Oh, Karina bit into a piece of spinach the other day
Yes,
and told
and
me
that's
she
what
liked
brought
it.
the whole thing on.
Yes.
They were looking at the bitten piece of spinach and they're like, that looks like grass we find in the yard. Is salad just grass? I said, pretty much.
I mean, it's fancy grass.
I watched you rolling your eyes on the other side of the couch, and I was like, yeah, salad's just fancy grass. Like, you could take a bowl outside and just, pick the yard up and put some dressing out. It'd be pretty much the same thing. And, yeah, like I said, I watched you roll your eyes at me, and they're just like, huh, that's a really good idea.
Oh, my goodness. But, yeah, no, for me to sit there and I could never sit there and eat a whole bowl of mac and cheese like that. Like, even my mac and cheese, I have to eat, applesauce with it or a meat on the side so that I can alternate because I need that multiple different textures to eat food.
And that's where I'm going to go for the win, and then later I'll justify it by just not eating quite as much as I would have later on. Mentally not eating as much.
Lies.
I don't make my own plate. You put the food on the plate, okay? If I eat that much for lunch,
you're a child.
And you want to scale me back, you got to do it because this thing, I don't know.
And
Some
then
people,
if I do try to portion control you,
whoa,
whine.
There's a difference between portion control and skimping me on gravy. Okay?
You eat a pound of potatoes at dinner.
Not by myself.
Yes, you do.
No.
Yes, you do, because I will make
Did you weigh it?
a 5-pound
Did you weigh
bag
it with
of
your
potatoes.
fancy scale? You don't give me a fifth of it. I can tell you that for free.
Yes, I do. Oh my goodness.
If you put
between
mashed
you
potatoes,
and Flash, you two take down at least 2 pounds of those potatoes.
Flash takes like 1.5 pounds.
Oh
and
my
I eat half
lord,
a
no, he
pound.
does not. I give him less potatoes than you because he eats vegetables.
That's his problem, not mine.
Oh my goodness.
But anyways, like I was saying, if you put potatoes on 6 to 7 plates, you can't tell me that I'm getting a fifth of it. The fraction doesn't work.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
And nobody said they were even fifths.
Well, I am.
No.
You can't give me a fifth of it, give everybody else potatoes, and have leftovers for lunch. It just doesn't. The math ain't there.
That's because you're the only one that's eating a whole fifth of the 5-pound bag of potatoes, my friend. Would you like me to go and get the girls' math workbook? We've been doing fractions lately.
No, but the next time you make dinner and you give me potatoes, scale it out and see. We'll see who's really eating a pound of potatoes or not.
It's you. It's definitely you. And then there's got to be at least a full cup of gravy on top of that, because if not, then you cry.
Not on top, in the middle.
Yeah, we got to put the little divot in the
You always
middle.
screw up the volcano. You gotta have the gravy volcano. And see, this is where, if you were to do it right, you
do understand that you have legs that will walk for you and hands that could pour your own gravy if you were that worried about it, right?
Right, but you always
I'm
make
just
my
saying.
plate before I can.
Yeah, okay.
Listen, this is how you do it. You take the potatoes and you make the volcano. You take the gravy and you fill the volcano. Then you take the chicken and you cut it up small and thin and stick it around the outside like people.
You have lost your ever-loving
And
mind
then
if you think I have time for that shit at the end of my day.
and then what you do is you make a little pile of potatoes on the edge of the plate, or like not on the edge,
Is
but
this
like
how your mom used to do it?
no.
No,
But
exactly. I don't know why you think
I
I'm
used to do it
it.
myself. But anyways, so you take and you put potatoes on the plate next to your volcano and you stick a bunch of pieces of chicken up and then you take your fork and you crush the wall there and the gravy comes out and you go, ah, because they got the gravy lava.
This must be a boy kid thing, because this is not a thing that me or our girls has ever done.
No, I think this is a normal person thing.
No, normal people don't play with their food. Normal people definitely don't drown their chicken with volcanic lava.
It's gravy. It's volcanic gravy.
Excuse the fuck out of me. Normal people don't drown their chicken people in volcanic gravy prior to eating their dinner.
Do you know what we used to do when we were growing up, when we were sitting at the table?
I shudder to imagine.
It's one of those things where my mom did it first, and then it wasn't okay for us to do it. But
well, at least I know who to complain to about it, whatever it is.
you take a giant spoonful of potatoes and stuff them in your mouth, and then you squish your cheeks like you're the Play-Doh guy, and it comes out in a tube, and then you try to suck it back in instead of letting it fall on your plate.
Let me be the first one to tell you that if you try that shit in this house, I'll send you back to your mama's house. That's disgusting. That's gross.
Karina was actually helping me make mashed potatoes the other day.
That's kind of scary considering she's 3 and our potatoes get peeled and shot through a mandolin.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there peeling potatoes and she goes, "Dad, I need to sit on the counter with you." I'm like, "Well, I'm not sitting on the counter." She's like, "Well, I need to be." So I'm like, "All right." So I stick her on the counter and she starts taking all my potatoes out of the bag. And she goes, "Oh, look at this cute little baby potato.
Everything
And this
is
is
a
the
cute
mama
little baby."
potato. And this is the dad potato. Can you peel the mom potato?" And I'm like, sure. And so I peel the potato and I set it aside. And she goes, "Now peel the baby potato." And I'm like, "Girl, we got some issues to talk about with you, don't we?"
Yeah, she's done that to me a handful of times when I'm doing potatoes. She's like, "Well, you peeled the mama potato, so now you gotta peel the baby potato so that they can be together again. Bye-bye, potato."
Yeah, that's not crazy at all.
No, just a little bit. It's a little bit creepy.
I
I
mean-
just chalk it up to her being a 3-year-old, but, it's still
Right.
kind of a little sketchy.
I mean, I guess it's not such a bad thing, right?
She's trying to keep the family together, at least,
Right.
in slices.
I mean, she's not doing it maliciously.
I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess. I don't know. I guess we'll find out as she gets older.
Everything, though, lately has been a cute little baby this or that, and then she talks about its mama and its daddy, and it's pretty cute.
Yeah, she was talking about how Max has to go back to Grandpa's to see his mama and daddy.
But that he immediately then has to turn around and come home because he lives with us now.
Yeah. Because when we first got him, it was like, all right, this is on a trial basis because you hate anything that's not human and move.
Uh-huh.
Like, I've seen you get upset because I pulled an air hose across the ground and you
And
didn't
it
see
moved.
me pull it and it moved.
Yep.
So
This kid was afraid of her shadow.
I used to ask her, "Do you want Max to live with us or do you want him to live back at Grandpa's?" Because she'd get really worked up sometimes. Like, he'd come in the room and she'd freak out. And she's like, "No, I want him to live with us." And I'm like, "All right, I'm just checking to make sure you still want him because you're, You're like a cat climbing a tree right now.
She's gotten so much better, though. I never expected her to get to where she is now. I mean,
Well,
shit, at bedtime, she makes him come upstairs and lay in her bed with her for a few minutes before she goes to sleep.
it's not even just him. She's just better in general. Like Paisley was running around outside, the neighbor's dog, and she's just like, yeah, look at that, and like does not care now when the dogs come around.
Yeah, so we try to do doggy play dates a couple times a week with the neighbors. And if she wants to pet Paisley, she'll come over and she'll still hold my hand, but that's mostly because Paisley is very oafy and clumsy and will knock her over without realizing it. So she holds my hand, but she pets her.
Right. Before we got Max, if Paisley or Bentley or any of them even came in the yard, like she wouldn't let you put her down.
Oh no, she was climbing your leg like a tree limb.
If they came outside, she would scream and run towards the house. Like they weren't even looking her direction or even like in our yard even. Like they're in the neighbor's fenced in yard out back and she's freaking out.
I think the reason that she took so well to Max is because when we got him, he was, baby doll sized.
Right.
And he's grown up before her eyes to where I don't think she has noticed it.
She doesn't see him as a big dog. She still sees him as a puppy and still a small dog. We just
have to make sure we never take him back to your dad's house where she will be able to see just how big he is compared to the other big dogs.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that would matter. She's starting to get a little bit better with them.
Yeah.
Depending on the day.
Yeah, I was going to say. We're usually over there pretty early in the morning, and Karina is absolutely not a morning person.
Yeah, the one day was pretty bad, though, and my dad felt so bad, but Karina was walking, and she's walking, like, real slow, like, just puttering.
Lollygagging into the house.
Puttering, not even out to the house, puttering back to the car.
Oh, yeah.
And he had them kenneled up, so they'll stay in their kennel, I guess. I don't know.
Outdoor enclosure.
Right. And they'll stay in there even though the door's open.
Yes, like because they're trained so well
that they sit there.
They just know.
In the doorway, and they won't come out until they're called, really. So she's puttering out to the car, and he keeps them there because she's been afraid of them. And he called them up to the porch, and they come flying through the yard, and Karina's at the bottom of the stairs for the porch, and she's just like, ah!
For clarification, he called them up onto the porch to feed them, not for any, come see the baby reason. It was just because it was their breakfast time, and he didn't realize that she was still at the bottom of the stairs.
So he calls them up on the porch so that he can feed them, and she's still right there at the bottom of the stairs. So they come hauling ass across the yard. She's just like, ah! And he hears her yelling. He's like, oh, shit, kennel up, kennel up, kennel up.
And they turned tail and ran right back to the kennel. They are good dogs.
They stop like, what in the world? And he's like, kennel up. And they're like, all right. And they turn around and go back. And Karina's like, ah, ah. I'm like, Karina, it's okay. They weren't coming to get you. They're going to see Grandpa. Grandpa called them. I said, he's so silly. He didn't realize you were there. She goes, yeah, he's so silly.
Meanwhile, trying to get her stomach to go back down out of her throat.
Yeah, he's like, I'm sorry, Karina. I didn't see you there.
But yeah, she does really well with him. She snuggles and pets and scratches, and she likes to give him treats, ranging from actual dog treats to goldfish to her half-eaten cucumber leftovers. The kids seem to think that he is a really great garbage disposal, and I really can't complain too much because it means less I have to clean up.
Yeah. Eventually, the kids got to get their room cleaned up. They're still sleeping on that floor bed from last week. Yeah,
well, it's going pretty well in terms of them going to sleep. Listen, there's no fighting and arguing. I sit down and read the book, you wrestle Ira back into bed 7 times, and then everybody goes to sleep.
I was going to say, you read half the book, and then it's like, all right, you picked a long book again, wrap this shit up, and then it's like, oh, and then we flipped 3 pages, and this happened, and we flipped 2 more pages, and this happened, and
luckily,
look at that, it's the end of the book.
And I can ad-lib myself through the book.
Karina just wants to see the pictures anyway.
That's true.
Well, that's how it is. Ira gets out of bed. You put Ira back in bed. Ira throws the blanket off, sits up, turns over, puts her feet on her pillow, lays there, complains, pick her back up, put her back in her bed the right way. Karina sits up, lay Karina down. Ira sits up, lay Ira down, Reyne needs a stuffed animal. Reyne gets up, goes. Karina gets up. Ira gets up. Make Ira lay down. Make
Karina
Karina
tells
lay
you
down.
that you need to make her baby lay down.
Marni starts talking. And it's like, all right, enough.
Everybody lay down and shut up.
Everybody lay down. Mom finished the book. And then Mom finishes the book. I lay Ira back down again. And then everybody gets hugs and kisses goodnight. And then
Peace
Ira
out.
bolts up and yells at me to drive safe.
Yep, because she thinks that every time they go to bed, you leave the house. I'm not sure where she thinks you're going, but you're leaving.
Most parents have that I love you, good night, sweet dreams.
Yeah, no,
all
not
that.
us.
With us, it's I love you, good night, sweet dreams,
Drive
safe.
And that's something that they picked up from me because
Well, you've always told me to drive safe every time I leave the
morning
house.
or every time you leave the house in general, I tell you to drive safe. I tell you I love you and drive safe. And that actually comes from my grandmother because when I was a kid, she used to tell my grandfather that every day when he would leave for work. She would tell him, I love you and drive safe and have a good day. And I asked her one day, I was probably like 9 or 10, I said, why do you say that every time he leaves the house? Even if he's just going up to the office of the campground that we're in, you always say that. And she told me, well, because you never know what's going to happen when he leaves the house. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she goes, well, anything could happen. He could be hit and have a car accident. He could have a medical emergency. He could... anything. You never know. He could be swept up in a tornado.
Right, it's unpredictable.
Exactly. And from that day forward, I've always, anytime a loved one leaves, whether it's a parent, a sibling, a relative, a spouse, whatever, anytime they leave me for any length of time, it's bye, love you, drive safe. So
right.
The kids have picked up on that.
They've
and now
adopted
they tell
that
them.
And they think it's part of bedtime. And
I'm not sure how they ran it into bedtime, but,
I don't either, but now I tell them to drive safe also when I'm leaving the room.
It's funny because when Flash leaves, the girls will run to the door to tell him to drive safe on the 2-mile drive home.
Yeah.
He thinks it's the cutest thing on the planet.
Yeah. It's funny. Ira says, love you, bye every time and drive safe.
Yep.
She can't say bye. She says, love you, bye. There's no bye for Ira. It's love you, bye.
It's love bye. It's not even love you. It's love bye because she just rolls them all into one. They're just one big unit because that's what she hears all the time.
Yep.
At least there's no lack of love in this house. Although I was not super loving of the Sharpie that got left out the other day. I was pretty pissed off about that one.
Yeah.
I come into the living room the other day and there's scribbles on my TV.
In Sharpie.
Yes. And we recently-ish bought a new TV, so it's a pretty, it's a nice TV. It's good size. And I'm looking at it and I'm watching Blue Bloods and I'm like, that squiggle isn't moving with the characters on the TV. Ira Jethro. She looks at me and I go, where's the marker? And she just gives me this, I didn't do it look. So I call in the rest of the horde of children and I'm like, all right, who left the Sharpie out? Well, nobody. Everybody tells me nobody knows who did it. Karina tells me that Ira did it, and the other two are blaming each other. Meanwhile, Ira's pouting. Now, Reyne had used the Sharpie to make a quote-unquote grocery list, which she then taped to the fridge, which is a big no-no. Don't tape anything to my fridge. Big pet peeve. So I'm already annoyed about that.
I'd rather them tape it to the fridge than the wall.
They should not have access to tape, period.
Or Sharpies.
Or Sharpies,
Which
yeah.
they're not supposed to either.
No. Reyne got the Sharpie out knowing full well she's not supposed to have Sharpies. And this is exactly why. Because upon further inspection, Ira had not only Sharpied the television, she also Sharpied the television stand and the couch. And herself. Yeah, so luckily it came off the television pretty easily, but I still have to shampoo the couch. I haven't gotten around to that yet.
Yeah, I know we bought the couch used, but still, it was actually a nice couch.
It was a very nice couch. I spent a lot of time on Facebook Marketplace picking out the perfect couch.
And what do we get from it? 4 kids. Sorry, let me take that back. We have 2 kids, a kangaroo, and a cat.
That's pretty accurate, yeah.
Because Ira likes to jump across the couch,
Like a bunny. Bunny hops across the couch.
and I yelled at her for it yesterday.
Again, for
I'm
the
in the living
probably
room and
millionth
she
time
bunny
this
hops
week.
across the couch, and I'm like, Ira, no, sit on your butt. And she plops down and looks at me.
And probably giggled if I had to guess.
Nope, she didn't. She looked at me and gave me that like I'm thinking about crying face. So I just stood there and I watched her, and she looks away and she looks at me, and then she starts to stand up and she's looking at me out of the corner of her eye. And then I watch her and she looks at me and she takes a step across the couch and then brings her feet back together and looks at me and then takes a step across the couch and then brings her feet back together and
Meanwhile,
looks at
she
me.
knows full well her feet should not be on the couch.
And she's like moving 6 to 8 inches at a time, just like to go back to the other side of the couch. And she gets like halfway over and I'm like, Ira. And she plops down real quick. I'm like, mm-hmm.
Now, just so that everybody has a good picture of what's going on here, we have an L-shaped sectional that takes up to probably 2/3 of our living room. So this kid uses it as a means of transportation to get from one side of the living room to the other.
In the meantime, Karina is sitting on the back of the couch.
Yeah.
The pillows for the back are sewn into the couch. And we've had to restitch multiple of those cushions multiple times because Karina likes to try to sit on them.
Thankfully, my other grandmother, when I was young, taught me how to sew. Thanks for that.
I was outside working on your car in the driveway, and Karina's got the window open yelling at me. I am laying under your car, and I just hear this kid yelling at me, and I'm like, what in the world is she yelling about? And so I crawl out, and she's in the window. I'm like, what, Karina? She goes, did you see what I just saw? I'm like,
No?
yeah, sure. And then Ira goes, Dad, and smacks her face right into the screen. Like I watched the screen imprint on the side of her face. And I'm like, can you not do that? Because you're either going to rip the screen or knock
Fall
it
out the window.
knock it right out the window. And then I watched our neighbor walk back up the driveway with their dog. And she goes, did you see what I just saw again? I'm like, yes, Karina, I saw the neighbor.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I stopped her from coming outside because she was in a t-shirt and a diaper, insisting that she needed to come outside and see you. And we compromised because I let her open the window instead of coming outside in her diaper.
That's okay because Ira did come outside. I am under the car again trying to finish up your oil change. And Marni comes out and goes, what are you doing?
What's it look like I'm doing?
I said, I'm checking tire pressure, Marni. What's it look like I'm doing? So she goes over to my car and pushes on the tire. And she goes, I think they're blown up.
Oh,
I said,
Jesus.
yes, thanks, Marni. And then I hear Ira yelling. I'm like, what?
Ira doesn't have any other volume besides yelling.
Right, but she's at the door.
Yeah.
Stuck inside at the door. So I go and open the door, and this kid's got a coat on.
Yeah.
And boots on.
That's
and
good.
I don't know if she's got pants on because her coat's so long I can hardly see
Whose
her
coat
boots.
was she wearing?
She was wearing Reyne's old black and white coat.
I see.
And it's zipped up. So she comes out and Marnie's like, I gotta get gloves, and goes back inside. So now it's just me and Ira outside.
And you're trying to fix my car.
And Ira comes up to me and she goes, Dad, ninja.
Oh.
Ninja. And I'm like, you need to go do ninja? She goes, yeah, ninja, garage. Come on, Dad. And she turns around and she like reaches for my finger, but she didn't get it. So then she starts walking. So I start walking behind her and she'll take 6 steps and turn and see if I'm still following her and then keep going and take 6 more. And then we finally get close to the garage and she just goes, wee, and takes off running into the garage. And I've got 2 trapeze bars hanging down low. So she immediately runs over and grabs one and picks her feet up and starts swinging a little bit. And she just sits there going, wee.
Happy camper right there.
Yeah.
That kid yells a couple times a week when we leave the house. Ninja! Ninja! And I'm sure in that coat with those boots, she probably looked like a little minion swinging around down those bars.
No, you couldn't really see her feet that well.
Covered up by her coat that was 6
It
sizes
was
too
a
big.
black and white coat. It looked like a marshmallow half burnt just swinging on a stick.
That's the marshmallow that starts to fall off the stick, and you're like, no, wait, you gotta wait for the graham cracker.
Yeah.
So lately I've been trying to get up before our children do so that I can have some time to drink coffee and like wake my brain up before I have to adult. Because typically we all get up at 8 and then I'm like, please don't talk to me until I've drank this coffee. And, you know, they don't really understand how coffee brings me to life in the morning. So I was like,
You
maybe...
could just stay up after you make my breakfast.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I would like to not do that. I get up at 5:30 to make your breakfast, and I very much need that sleep.
What time are you getting up then?
7:30, which is half an hour earlier than I normally would.
I mean, I guess.
Listen, it's enough time to get the dog out, put something on my body, put coffee in my coffee cup, and half of it in my belly. And if it's decent outside, I'll go sit outside with the dog and throw his ball while I drink my coffee, so that when he comes back inside, he's a little bit less of a crackhead.
What does Ira do?
Ira's still in bed.
Yeah, but when she comes down, what does she do? Because the first thing she does normally is come down and
Yell puppy out.
yell puppy out and try to open his crate.
Yeah,
if he's not in there, what happens? Does she crawl in looking for him?
No, usually she comes and bangs on the door if I'm outside with him. She'll come bang on the door till I open it, and she comes to check on us in her pajamas. Otherwise, if we're in the house, he's waiting for them at the bottom of the stairs by 8.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you'd never know they were up there if... Well, never mind, because they sound like a damn herd of elephants and they come out of the room.
The ceiling fan is rocking.
They come out the room, you think it was marching band practice.
Seriously, it's ridiculous. I can't imagine the amount of sawdust that comes out of the bottom of our stairs. It's a good thing we don't have a boy that lives under the cupboard under our stairs. But yeah, so anyways, I've been trying to get up a little bit earlier, like I said, to get this coffee thing down so that I can be a little bit more awake. Problem is, about 7:30, 7:45, the older two come down to pee, and I'm like, why are you down here? And then I get a little bit snappy because I'm like, I'm already getting up early, and you're still down here before I've had a chance for my coffee to kick in. Please go back to bed.
I got up early so
to
that
avoid you.
So I could be personable when you came downstairs yet. I am not personable yet. Go use the bathroom and go back upstairs.
Quietly, and don't tell the others I'm up.
Because I know when they see you're up, they go, oh, you're up. We can
I
be down now, right?
Yeah, no.
No. Not
it's
yet.
Still 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
We have a routine. We have a good thing going. Don't ruin it. And don't tell the others Mom's awake.
Well, I guess if you're trying to get up early, even that half an hour, then we should probably call it a night because it is getting...
Oh, you mean because my alarm went off half an hour ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so we're going to wrap this up for tonight. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, download.
All the things. Follow.
Whatever platform you're on, select one of the options that it'll let you do.
Exactly. Select the positive reinforcement option for whatever platform you're on. And on that note, I'm going to go find an inhaler and crash. Catch us next week, y'all.
Have a good night.
Yeah, but I really do need my inhaler.
I know.